Hey everybody, welcome back to Noggin Notes. I'm Jake Wiskerson, the host, and we sure do appreciate you downloading our content and listening to it. Also, please share it around because it really helps everybody when you hear inspiring stories like the one we're about to hear today. A longtime buddy of mine, Danny Heinsohn, who I've known since, long before 2 decades ago. He's a brain cancer survivor, and he's celebrating his 20th year cancer-free. And so he talks a little bit about that and about the foundation that he started and about his journey, and it's really, really cool. So I think you're going to really have some fun with this one. I like listening to Danny. He's inspiring. It's encouraging. It's a motivational message, and just all around good stuff. I think we need more of that in this day and time as we're moving through the pandemic and whatnot. So, as always, our show is sponsored by Zephyr Wellness. If you have not yet learned about Zephyr Wellness, you should. It's a company that I co-own with my co-owner, Lindsay Bell, in Reno and Sparks, Nevada. Check out zephyrwellness.org to learn more about what we do. And also follow us on the social media channels. YouTube for sure, Instagram, Facebook, and absorb some free content. Pass it around to your friends. We just give it out because we want the world to be a better place. And speaking of making the world a better place, you can educate yourself through Audible. Audible is another sponsor that we have. If you go to audibletrial.com/Noggin Notes, you can get a free 30-day trial complete with a free audiobook download through Audible. And if you're not familiar with audio content and you've just only known page-turning books, like of the physical kind, printed on pulp, manufactured by paper plants, maybe check out the digital version. You can play it through your Bluetooth. You can listen through it through your headphones, on a mobile device, tablet, in your car, wherever you happen to be. And it's a great way to learn stuff. So you can improve your mind and expand your noggin by going to Audible and accessing their completely unmatched selection of audio content. audibletrial.com/Noggin Notes. Get a free 30-day trial. Keep your book even if you decide not to continue. And you'll be helping yourself out, helping us out, and helping to make the world a better place that way. Without any further delay, this is my interview with Danny Heinsohn. Please check out his stuff in the show notes section. Support his organization, which is myhometownheroes.org, and continue making the world a better place. Enjoy. So on today's podcast, we have a longtime acquaintance of mine, Danny Heinsohn. Hello, Danny.
What's up, Jake?
Lots of things are up today. Thank you for asking. But most importantly, you are going to be sharing a little bit about your story and your background and your cause. I'm going to let you talk about that, but first I want to give a brief background on how we know each other, and it's from college, like 20 plus years ago, which is crazy because we don't look that old. At least I don't think we do. You're in good shape. You're still doing like triathlons and stuff, aren't you?
You look the same as you did back then.
Grayer hairs. Don't look too closely into the camera.
Yeah, definitely still in triathlons. Not so much as I used to be. Well, actually, I'm more into endurance running now, more than triathlons.
That's like the 100-mile stuff, 50, 100s, that kind of thing.
50Ks and above. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's wild. Yeah, no thanks. That just kind of makes me want to vomit. But hey, somebody's got to do it, and I'm glad you're out there. So. Tell us who you are, what you're doing on this podcast, and the whole thing, and then we'll dive into the particulars.
Yeah, well, Jake, you and I connected in college. I think you were in the programming part of Student Senate, and I was the College of Engineering senator, and that's right. I think that's how we first connected. And did you go to Reed?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we both went to Reed, and then or no, did you go to Reed or did you go to Reno?
I did. I graduated in '94.
Yeah, and then we were both in fraternities, as I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in Sigma Nu? Is that right?
Pi Kappa Alpha.
Oh, you were a Pike. That's right. Jeez, memory fades. And I was in Sigma Phi Epsilon. But yeah, so we ran in the same circles: Greek life, student government, and then we just happened to reconnect at a local brewery the other day because you were in there. Shaking down the owner, who we also know from college, Matt Johnson at Imbibe. Want to give them a shout out. Good beer there. Good experimental beer, actually. And anyway, I
I grabbed you because I knew that you had this organization, and I wanted to get you on the podcast and talk about it. So please tell everybody, let's stop teasing them.
Yeah, well, I mean, just funny that, we kind of came to that juncture because I actually met Matt from Imbibe through Team and Training for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society back in 2008, and he was actually one of the cyclists that I coached. So
whoa,
we'll bring everything back here
yeah.
full circle. So just kind of pivoting off of our journey to where we, connected through student government at the University of Nevada. I was slated to graduate college in May 1999, and had plans to backpack Europe with my best friends for 2.5 months and then come back, and I was going to move to Colorado or Arizona to start my career as an electrical engineer. So that was the plan. And, I was going to be the ultimate weekend warrior. I was just going to mountain bike on the weekends. And, in the wintertime, I was going to ski up in the Rockies and whatnot. But so, yeah, my story really begins about a week before I graduated. I woke up one morning with a kind of a migraine headache. I'm 23 and just a migraine. I'll be fine the next morning. So the next morning I wake up and I'm about to go into the last final of my undergraduate career, and just this lingering behind my left eyeball. And it was a final in digital control systems, I think was the course. So it just kind of gives you a headache just thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
So Tuesday I'm running the base pass in a softball game, and it just feels like there's a river rock just pounding into my skull. So, with plans to backpack Europe, 2 days after college graduation, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to a family doctor and, a medical clinic, get a couple opinions. And they said, it's stress of finals. You're anxious to graduate and you're excited to go to Europe. Here's a couple of prescriptions. Call us back. The routine. So got some antibiotics. Best I ever felt was on Saturday, and Sunday I graduated and still kind of had a headache. And then, my college diploma, and I actually open up with this line in my TED Talk is, may all your hopes and high aspirations for the future be as richly rewarding as this achievement. So was the primary message I remember at graduation. And I'm supposed to be on a plane to Bilbao, Spain 2 days later. But Monday I wake up, the headaches come back with a vengeance, worse than ever. So my dad and we drive down to St. Mary's, the emergency room, figure out, okay, what's going on? After 2.5 hours of testing, blood tests, CAT scans, chest x-ray, I meet my dad back in the waiting room, and he stands up, and I'm actually on a gurney. They instructed me to lay on a gurney. And so I met my dad in the waiting room, and he said, it doesn't look like you're going to Europe. The doctors think you have a tumor. So that was like, okay, well, it's like, wow, that's kind of crazy news. It's like, how do you react or respond to something like that? You're just
at 23, you're like, world by the tail, and like, oh, by the way, tumor in your head.
We're indestructible at 23, right?
But we are.
Yeah. So, I get back to my room and I'm like, I don't have no idea what to do. So I just called a couple of my best friends, and they're in the hospital within minutes, and just made a couple phone calls. And next thing I know, there's just like dozens and dozens of people coming to the hospital. And, I'm about to they're about to drill a hole, carve out a nice chunk of my skull to take out this tumor, which is presumably the size of a racquetball, 3 days after college graduation. So that's kind of crazy. But the thing that got me through that and how I live my life today was the people who were there for me in the hospital, because it was, during that time, I just realized that just the simple act of being there can mean the world. And that's a valuable lesson to take. I believe you can take anywhere, just because, we're all going through tough times with the current financial or the current, state of the world and COVID and all that stuff. So, I think it's really, really important to be grateful and really embrace the community, and don't be afraid to ask for help, because people will show up for it. So yeah, just for people showing up in the hospital, showing that they cared, didn't really have to do much. I mean, my TED Talk says my hospital room became a bouquet of hope with dozens of floral arrangements and stacks of get well cards. And that's what it was. So I was like, man, I'm not fighting. I'm fighting for them now. This isn't about me anymore, because these people are showing me this tremendous sense of support. And I'm going to take this day by day, and, I'm going to do it for them. This is my purpose, because they're fighting for me. I'm going to fight for them. And so I have the craniotomy and have a couple episodes that I briefly remember. The first one I remember was I woke up feeling terrified, because anesthesia is kind of a tricky thing. You can sometimes it wears off too early, and that's what happened in my case. So I just woke up just like freaking terrified. And then the next episode, I remember my friend Paul Seafree, who you probably know. He went to
do. Yeah.
And he's got like the biggest perfect teeth ever.
He does have a big smile.
He was working at the hospital at the time. So the thing I remember about him was his big smile. And then the third episode was actually my new reality. And that's when I felt like I woke up and I got hit by a bus. And that was the reality I woke up to. And that was, I had my arms and my legs were riddled with IVs and tubes, in different parts of the body. And I couldn't even talk. I could kind of think and kind of comprehend. So what had happened is, after they did the first operation, they patched me back up, and then I woke up the next morning and I passed out and had a massive seizure. And that was because of the intense intracranial pressure. So when I woke up and I felt the top of my head, they actually removed the entire bone off this side of my skull, which is about the size of a baseball card.
Yeah, and people can't see this because it's audio, but we're on video looking at each other, but you're pointing to your left side, and you have a big giant scar down there. Yeah. Yep.
I got an upside down horseshoe on that side. But so that was a trip, no skull, or, chunk of my skull missing, and just no protection of my brain. And they had presumed it was some sort of lymphoma, and my case was forwarded to UCSF, and they said, okay, you know how it is in the medical industry. It's kind of the hurry up and wait type of game. So long story short, my case is forwarded to UCLA, where I'd have a conclusive operation, and got a little more educated on the risks, on what, the high stakes that were actually involved with an operation like this. I could have more seizures. I could have a stroke, and I could even die. This could be the end right here. So I just kept embracing my people, who were there for me. And, my best friends were always there for me. We went up to the lake and everything. And, I wore a hat because I didn't have this part of my.
That's crazy. So your skull was literally missing. Did they put anything in place of it? Like, I'm thinking of like Christmas Vacation, where cousin Eddie's like, there ain't nothing there but a piece of government plastic.
Yeah. I mean, so what they did is they basically took the skin and they just sutured it back up, but there was no bone there for
Whoa. Oh, that's wild.
That's crazy. So yeah. In life, you always have a choice, on how you react or respond to adversity. And you can, this is in my book, and it's also my TED Talk, that, the risks, seizures, stroke, I could even die. And I chose hope, out of everything. And that's kind of how I went into that third craniotomy, where my neurosurgeon, Dr. Linda Liao, is one of the best in the world, come to find out. And when I woke up from that operation, I was, I had a solid head again, and I felt the best I had ever felt, prior to the headaches, before even getting admitted to the hospital. So she did a fantastic job. So then, standard protocol after having brain surgery is that you got to wait, 3 weeks, standard protocol after brain surgery, for your, to everything to kind of heal to some sort of extent, to, before administering any chemo. And I kind of thought I was at the tail end of this thing and I was going to kind of get on with my life. And then